Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Pole Position, we have a lot to talk about this past weekend. Basically, everything that we cover on this show that hasn't started its season already started its season this weekend. We have NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series to talk about. We have two World of Outlaws races from two different tracks to bring it to you. We have straight line stuff from NHRA, and we have some road racing stuff, both from Formula One and from IMSA. So let's get right into it. We'll start with the NASCAR stuff, as that is the stuff that we've kind of already talked about here on the channel, so we'll get that out of the way. If you want a more in-depth recap of any of the NASCAR stuff, whether it's a Cup race, an Xfinity race, a truck race, an ARCA race, a K&N race, if that race happened over that past weekend, we will have a rewind show for it. There are some notable exceptions for that, and it's usually when we are at a track live doing coverage of an ARCA race or a K&N race or something. We just don't have the time to do a rewind show for, say, an Xfinity race like we didn't do the weekend of Pensacola. So this weekend we do have rewind shows for both the Xfinity race and the Cup race. So if you want more than just a quick look at the top 10, you want a more in-depth look at the race, the rewind show is where you want to go. They are linked down below in the description. So let's start off here with the Xfinity Series race, the Production Alliance Group 300. Cole Custer was able to snooker Kyle Busch, who had a pit road penalty. And after dominating most of the race, Cole Custer is able to pick up his home track win in that 00 car's first of the season, locking himself into the playoffs. Kyle Busch did come home in second with his teammate Christopher Bell in third. Tyler Reddick continues his strong season in fourth, and Chase Briscoe with his first top 5 of the year in fifth. The rest of your top 10 were Austin Cindric, Brandon Jones, Ryan Preece, Justin Allgaier, and Justin Haley. All right, so moving on to the Cup Series. Kyle Busch seeking that 200th win across all 3 NASCAR series. He was not able to do it in the Xfinity race, but he was able to do it in the Cup race. Kyle Busch wins the Auto Club 400, picking up his 200th win across the 3 national series of NASCAR. Joey Logano in second, Brad Keselowski third, Kevin Harvick fourth, and Ryan Blaney rounds out the top 5 to put all 3 Team Penske cars in the top 5. They were all extremely fast in this race. Rest of your top 10 were Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Almirola, and Austin Dillon. All right, so that does it for the stock car stuff on the weekend. So let's move to the road racing side of things, and we'll start with Formula One. They were in action for their season opener, round number 1 of the 2019 Formula One season. The Rolex Australian Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas picks up the win to strike first blood in the 2019 season. A sweep of the top 2 spots by Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton in second, and Max Verstappen puts a Red Bull on the podium as well. The other 2 Ferraris rounded out the top 5 with Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc. And the rest of your top 10 gaining points in this race were Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, Kimi Räikkönen, Lance Stroll, and Daniel Kvyat. Alright, so that is road race number 1 for the weekend. Actually, technically number 2 as it happened after the IMSA race, but let's move on to IMSA, the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Their next round, the Mobil 1, 12 Hours of Sebring, presented by Advanced Auto Parts, the 67th annual running of this race. So, being the first time we've got IMSA on here, let's take a look at the results page here. It's going to look a little different than what the rest of these do. We're just going to look at the winners from each class. Your DPI winner was the Whelen Engineering Racing Cadillac with Felipe Nasser, Eric Curran, and Pippo Durrani driving. In the GTLM, the Porsche GT team driving the Porsche 911 RSR took the victory there. In LMP2, Performance Tech Motorsports, Oreca LMP2 took the win there. And in GTD, the GRT Grasser Racing Team in their Lamborghini Huracan GT3 took the victory there. So you can see all of the drivers in each of these cars as well for all 12 hours. All right, so that wraps up the road racing stuff for the weekend. Now let's move on to the straight line stuff. NHRA was back in action this weekend for the Gatornationals from Gainesville, Florida. And there were a long list of classes for this event. So we're not going to go through every single one of them. We'll hit on some of the big ones here, and then you can see the others here if there's any other classes that you are interested in. Your top fuel winner for the weekend was Richie Crampton. Robert Height took the victory in Funny Car. Bo Butner was your Pro Stock winner. Your Super Stock winner was Kevin Reiner. So you can see the rest of the winners down through here as well. If there's any other classes you are interested in, we have the winners for every class that were at the Gatornationals this weekend. All right, so now on to the dirt track side of things. The World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars were in action this weekend from two different tracks. First up, they were in action on Friday. Yes, Friday, from Silver Dollar Speedway. Rookie of the Year contender Carson Macedo slides by Brad Sweet for the lead with 15 laps to go en route to his second career World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series win and his second win at Silver Dollar Speedway. Sweet settles for second with Ian Madsen rounding out the podium. So you can see the rest of the top 10 there for that race. Now we'll move on to the race from Saturday. It was at the Stockton Dirt Track in Stockton, California. Logan Schuchert becomes the sixth different World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series winner in 7 races this season, besting Brad Sweet and Tim Kading to the finish. Schuchert loses his early lead to Shane Stewart. The flat right rear tire late in the race on Stewart's car gave Schuchert back the lead and the win. And that will do it for everything that happened this weekend. A lot of stuff across a lot of different forms of motorsports. It's fun to have everything back in action right now and have a lot of different things to talk about here. If there's anything we're not talking about on here that you want us to talk about, let us know. And we might include it on a future pole position. But got more stuff coming up next weekend as well. NASCAR is in Martinsville, Cup and Trucks. Trucks are back, yes, after 2 weeks off this weekend, so we will, of course, have rewind shows for those, and then, of course, all kinds of other stuff for pole position that will be fun to talk about as well. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. And while you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video? It is much appreciated when you do, and it helps us out so much when you do that. But at that, this has been the pole position where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.